Welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube channel. My name is Matthew, and thank you for being here for another episode, a long overdue episode of Beyond the Lines. It's the show where we get an opposition supporter's view when it comes to previewing Newcastle's next game. And this Saturday, 12:30, London is calling for Eddie Howe's Mags as we travel to the Olympic Stadium to take on West Ham. And to help me preview this one, I'm joined by my first ever repeat guest. He is your friend. He is my friend. He is a podcaster. He is a West Ham fanatic. He is a lovely gentleman. He's a beautiful gentleman. It's James Jone, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, no, pleasure. And thank you for coming on. We'll jump at the match in a bit, but let's we spoke on the first game of the season last time. We were pretty much previewing our seasons. How have you found West Ham's season so far?
Well, I mean, if we go back to that first game, we ran out comfortable winners despite Callum Wilson scoring in the first minute, I think, for you guys. And that set the tone, really, for the rest of our season so far. It's been really, really good. We're fifth now, but we were, it's only because I think United won in the week, so we're now fifth, but we've been fourth for most of the season. And you can't really complain with particularly when you're West Ham, you can't really complain with it. So it's been good. I think a lot of West Ham fans have been quite surprised that we've built on last season so well, because last season came out of nowhere for us, following a relegation battle, and then you finished sixth, almost finished fourth, and then a lot of West Ham fans were like, with Europe to contend with as well, small squad, we're probably going to be mid-table at best, and instead we followed it up with another top four challenge. So it's been pleasantly surprising. Really, really good. Europe's been good for us as well. The form recently, though, although on paper it looks good, the performances have begun to dwindle a little bit. We haven't been as ruthless as we were at the beginning of the season. Let's put it that way.
Two wins in your last five. I mean, you sort of rescued a draw at the death against Leicester after surrendering the lead.
Yep.
Is it one of those ones where, you know, West Ham, Leicester 2-2 on paper, like you've just said, seems like a sort of fair result, but maybe would you say you were almost lucky to get that draw? I mean, I know that you started putting pressure on them near the end, but to sort of surrender the lead the way you did and then go behind, it must have been a little bit frustrating.
Well, we gifted them the equaliser with a penalty at the end of the first half, where Aaron Cresswell forgot that he wasn't the goalkeeper, and then they come out strong in the second half, and then we had to rely on technically Craig Dawson's arm to rescue a point. I think it was probably a fair result on the face of it.
Yeah.
But going into that game, we were thinking, right, we should win this, because Leicester have been poor recently. Mm-hmm. Rubbish at set piece, defending set pieces. And we're pretty good at set pieces. So it's like, right, this is perfect for us. Didn't really go to plan, but it was another game where our players just looked absolutely knackered. And we didn't invest in January, so it's literally the same squad all season. Mm-hmm. And it's beginning to show a little bit that the players are getting a little bit tired.
Yeah, it was the lack of investment sort of in the summer as well. So to, you know, get as far as you have been, like, it's sort of a bittersweet pill to swallow, because it's shown that squad, maybe depth is the wrong word, but the quality's there because you're putting together results. You're doing okay, doing very well, but just with those reinforcements off the bench, if you would have brought in 2 or 3 players maybe in January or something, you could have really kicked on, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, we've got 14 very good players. But once you get 1 or 2 injuries, which we've got, then that kind of suddenly you've literally got a starting 11, and then a load of players on the bench that really aren't good enough to come on and you know, change games if we're chasing. Like January was a massive disappointment for us, because with Europe, the last 16 coming in the Europa League, we're still in the FA Cup. We're trying to finish in the top 4. We've got a big opportunity because no one seems to really want to finish in the top 4 this year.
Yeah.
And it was like, right, go out and get another striker to help Antonio, because he's, you know, scored 2 in his last 19, I think.
Yeah.
He's our only striker. Go out and get another centre half, because, you know, Bonner's out for the rest of the season. We need someone, because Issa Diop's a little bit ropey, and Craig Dawson, bless him, he's like 35 and a good player, but not someone, you know, you really want to be relying on to be your best centre back for the rest of the season. So West Ham fans thought we were going to invest, thought we were going to, you know, add depth, and we didn't. And I think the fear now is that we're gonna regret that. come May, I think.
I mean, we've spoken about your form there, but then looking at the table, you've got, looking over your shoulder, you've got a couple of teams, and two of probably your main rivals in Spurs and Arsenal with 3 games in hand. Now, they aren't the most reliable teams, especially Tottenham at the moment.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to strike the fear of God in you, but I appreciate what you're saying, because if you've got those extra players, just the 1 or 2, I mean, like a Lingard for your last season, it makes all the difference to be able to put him in the first team and have someone like a Ben Rama who can come off the bench. Is that correct? Like, is that something that you would have preferred?
Yeah, that's another aspect to it. We were, depends which way you look at it, but I would say we were quite fortunate that we weren't really affected by the COVID cancellations. I think we had 1.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, I've got my notes here, mate, that you're one of only 4 teams to play 25 games so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, we've already replayed that game. It was against Norwich, and we won it. But we knew that there were so many teams playing catch-up, and we knew that there wasn't a lot of points between us all.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just another reason why we just needed just to give the squad a bit of a boost. Like you said, like Lingard last year, he came in midway through the season and just gave us that boost that we needed just to continue pushing until the end of the season, And even if it wasn't Lingard this January, it could have been a striker to cut, someone like Divock Origi that I was really, really looking for us to sign. Literally the very definition of a bench player, a very effective bench player. Go and get him. Liverpool don't want him. Go and get him. And we didn't. And yeah, I think, with the likes of Spurs, Arsenal, even Wolves are in the conversation all of a sudden.
Yeah, they've really quietly went about their business, haven't they?
Yeah, and there's just so many teams there fighting for that 4th spot, and we've got the thinnest squad, and we played the most games, so it's looking very unlikely that we're gonna win that race at the moment.
So, I mean, the big question is, I mean, I won't hold you to it, but where do you think you'll finish this season? Then I guess first question is, where would you hope? I mean, obviously, hope is 4th, but with a bit of optimism, where do you think you'll finish? But being realistic.
We've still got to play all of those teams, so there is still a chance that we can, keep ahead. But I think realistically, we're probably looking at 6th or 7th. Yeah. I think Arsenal are the outsiders for 4th. I think United will be there or thereabouts. They will grind out results. Spurs, you just don't know what they're going to do. And Wolves are not dark horses, really, aren't they? So I think 6th or 7th. And I think West Ham fans, despite us being in 4th for most of the season, will be quite pleased. If we stay in some sort of European competition next season, then I think we'll be happy.
I mean, take out, the big sort of takeover-shaped elephant in the room with Newcastle United. Just us talking about this now, I think not to digress from the match preview, but it really sort of epitomizes the fear of the top 6. You're talking about the top 4 there, and you've mentioned Arsenal and Man United. Mentioned Arsenal as an outside chance, Man United there or thereabouts. It's crazy the fact that we're even sitting, and I'm totally agreeing with you, by the way. Like, it's crazy that we're not like, oh, it's going to be between 5 teams or 6 teams to what order. But Wolves are in there, West Ham are in there. There's always the chance that another team might crash at least one of the European spots with a run near the end of the season. It's not going to be Newcastle, but it's going to be, it could be someone. And it really does epitomise the fact that the top 6, again in inverted commas, are why they're scared. Tottenham's form, it shows that they're trying to batten down the hatches now with these rumours recently of trying to get places in the Champions League through not just performance places. I mean, what do you make of that? I'm surely like you're any other football fan, and like I say, I'm going to say this because I'm a Newcastle supporter, and hopefully our future looks very bright. But when you're a West Ham fan and you're hearing these, I mean, after the Super League, you're hearing other sort of musings of, not being able to qualify for the Champions League through performance basis or reducing those spots. I mean, how does that make you feel?
Well, it just shouldn't be allowed to happen. Full stop. What's the point of playing a 38-game season if at the end of it you don't get rewarded for your success?
Completely agree.
And they are worried. Those clubs, they are worried. I mean, the fact that West Ham didn't sign Jesse Lingard is because Man United wouldn't sell to us.
I think he found he was going to come to Newcastle, but
he might have done. I mean, he might have done.
I'm already joking. But either way, they were playing. They were being ridiculous. They were being ridiculous. They were cutting their noses off despite their faces.
Yeah.
Basically, with us, it was they wanted to milk us because of the money. With you guys, it was like a non-starter because they were petrified of you. They knew that if they sell to you, it's going to really give you a shot in the arm and turn those games you're drawn into wins. Simple as.
Yeah, and it just shows that they're worried. I think all the all the traditional top 6 clubs, barring City and Liverpool, maybe Chelsea.
Yeah,
the rest of them are worried. The rest of them are worried, and it shows how far some of the other clubs like West Ham, like Wolves, Leicester, you could put Leicester in the same conversation, Newcastle eventually, how far they've come when you've got Man United worried about them.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to say is like, look, like we could still go down this season, and then hopefully with the run we're putting together now, that's not going to happen. But, it's still a definite possibility. So as a Newcastle supporter, I'm obviously going to say this is unfair because people would say, of course you'd say that because you know that in the next few years, if you don't go down, you're going to kick on. But take me out of the conversation. Like West Ham, brilliant last 2 seasons. Leicester stuttered a bit, but they're still there or thereabouts, and they've still won trophies in the last couple of years. And you've got, like Wolves on the precipice of maybe gate crashing the party. Like, it's not like you just said, imagine having such a great season and not being rewarded for it because 6 teams said you're not allowed. Like, it's just on paper, just on a totally ethical level, it's just wrong. It totally just takes competition out. And I know we're probably going to regurgitate the Super League conversation here, and we won't, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that for those clubs, you can see why they're worried and they want to try and protect their income and their prestige and all the rest of it. But to organisations like the Premier League, it should be like they should be celebrating the fact that Wolves, West Ham, Leicester, even Brighton threatened it earlier on in the season. That they're really pushing for it, that they're really going for it, rather than just have a top 4 or top 6. At the moment, it's a top 8 or 9.
Yeah, definitely.
And everyone's competitive. It makes it more competitive. We always hear about how the Premier League's the best league in the world. Well, it's even better if you've got 8 teams that can potentially qualify for the Champions League every year.
Completely agree.
Rather than just cut it off to 4 or 6 teams. So it should be a good thing for the Premier League. I can't imagine that they'd be that willing to sanction what these top 6 clubs want, to be honest.
Again, I hope that, any sort of musings of trying, I mean, they've said they've rejected some sort, I can't remember what it's called, owners, like, I can't remember what it was called, some sort of, what's the word? I'm totally drawing a blank, but, some points that have been put forward basically to be signed and, the next rules and...
Like a proposal, yeah.
A proposal, that's probably the word I'm looking for, James, thank you. Is the fact that, like, the fact they're rejecting that just shows how scared they are, but it just shows that they're still going to try to do similar things they did with the Super League, and I just hope that the fans of these teams, like they did before, just say we're not having it. Like, I really hope, because that's really what basically put the nail in an already made coffin, because it was never going to get off the ground. But even when it looked like there might be a chance, those fans of Chelsea, Liverpool, City, they all said, look, when the managers as well, like Guardiola, Klopp, they said, look, you can't reward failure with success, and that's what you would be doing if you're given the Champions League. But we won't talk about those idiots anymore. That's stupid. I've totally took it off the sidetrack there. But we'll talk about the game. Now, this fixture, I was looking at previous fixtures and I was trying to recall them in my head, and I thought there's been plenty of goals there. And I tweeted tonight saying there's been 22 goals in the last 5 meetings against Newcastle and West Ham, including 2 3-2 wins for Newcastle at St James's Park and at your place, and obviously a 4-2 win for you already this season. Do you see it going a similar way? Do you reckon and both teams will score more than 1 goal?
Yeah, I think there will be goals again. Obviously, you guys look a lot tighter at the back.
With bringing in Dan Burns and
I mean,
Trippier's obviously injured, which is a big blow, but Matt Targett's been a big sign as well.
Yeah, you do look a lot tighter at the back. I think I watched Dan Burns' debut last week; he was superb. So that's a big bonus. But when we've got players like Jared Bowen, who's on absolute fire at the moment, Antonio, if he can be bothered, might pop up with something. We've got creativity. We can still score goals. Whereas our defence is, really struggling at the moment. Soufal was awful against Leicester, so was Cresswell. Issa Diop, hot and cold. And Craig Dawson is the best of a bad bunch at the moment in terms of defence. So I'm expecting, and when you've got like Alan St Maximan and Chris Wood scores for fun whenever he plays against us. So I'm really worried about that. I can't remember what his record is against us, but it just always seems like he used to score against us when he played for Burnley.
It's going to be one of those ones if he scores, it happens with Newcastle all the time, because he hasn't scored for Newcastle yet. Obviously. Well,
I mean, it basically means he's definitely going to score at least one.
I've had premonitions he's going to miss a penalty.
No, he's going to score. He might score 8 or something like that just to rub it in.
I'll take it. I'll take that. But I mean, it is one of those ones though, because you've just said about us tightening up things at the back. Obviously, we are scoring goals because we've scored, 5 goals in our last 3, which isn't too bad for a team that looked pretty toothless going through the season. But like you said, Maximin is a dynamic player. I do love him, like a lot of Newcastle fans do, but he needs to be on his game. Simple as. Against Villa, he wasn't, but he does always have that moment. But let's talk about your sort of maverick, Jarrod Bourne. You've just hinted on him there. How much is he developed over the last few seasons? Because when you got him from Hull, we were looking at him as well. We were begging Steve Bruce to try and knock the door down to sign him. He's just way into the team, but this season, he just seems to have became that player where every time someone sees him score in the pub, they say he's a player in.
Yeah. In his first full season, I think he scored 8 goals last year, but there were a lot of criticisms when it came to his finishing. Mm-hmm. He'd always get in the right positions in the box, get himself into really good positions, but his finishing was way off last year. Mm-hmm. And it was like, if he can sort that out, we've got a player on our hands. And this year he's done it. And, he can play up front, he can play out wide. Sort of go against Leicester where he just timed his run perfectly in behind the defence. Even though it was a hit and hope from Issa Diop up the field. Got a bit fortunate with that. But he reads the game so well, and he's just a nuisance. Like, even off the ball, he'll harry defenders, he presses. Still not perfect. It's still not perfect by any stretch. But if you compare the player that the Jarrod Bourne had last season to the one we got this season, it's like almost twice the player when you consider his work rate. He's played. I think he's appeared in every game he played this season. Yeah, we've played near 40 games, I think. If you include like Europa League and Cup games. Mm-hmm. Just a class act, and I'm just a bit worried that we're not going to be able to keep him beyond the summer.
He works very hard as well. He works very hard as well, doesn't he, James? Like, you see him. He nips at people's heels. He tries to win the ball, like you said, with his pressing game there. Yeah, and that's one thing. If I would definitely say is, like, when you've said last season he's getting criticisms about finishing, completely forgot about that, because he's been ruthless in some of his finishes, whether it's near post, far post. I always picture him. I know he plays up front sometimes, but left side, right foot, just that little caressing at the bottom corner or whacking it near post. He seems to score different types of finishes, but in the same types of areas. Does that make sense? Am I correct there?
Yeah. He's got variety to his finishing now. Even his goal against Watford last week, where it was a big deflection from outside the area, very fortunate. And he came out after and said, "Well, don't shoot, don't score." Yeah, he's now got that mentality. It's like, something like when you're in form, those goals go for you. Mm-hmm. If he was out of form, it might have hit Road's Head. But he just went, if you don't shoot, don't score. So he's got that mentality now. He's confident. Like, we're just absolutely buzzing that we've got him chipping him in the goals, because at the moment no one else is chipping in with him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so before we go and give predictions for the game, Michail Antonio, strange one, because you've said there he hasn't scored 2. He scored 2 in 19, was that?
It's 2 or 3 in 19, something like that, yeah.
But I mean, he was almost like a Callum Wilson for us, that he was one of your talismanic players, but it was when he was on the pitch. Like, he got injured quite easily. He's got to run a games together now, but is it something that he's changed in his game, would you say? Is he coming too deep for the ball, or is it just not going for him?
So we've got a theory on our podcast that at the beginning of the season, he was chasing the club record for Premier League goals. He was just behind Paolo Di Canio. Wow. And he was banging them in, and he ended up getting the record. I think he's on 52 now. The record was 48. But ever since that's happened, he's scored since then. He's scored maybe 4 or 5 since then, but sort of not as consistently. And our theory is that because he's got no one behind him, no one pressing his position, he's under no pressure. He knows if he's fit, and to his credit, he's stayed fit all season so far. Touch wood, he continues that. But because he's got no competition for that position up front,
it's a good point.
He's relaxed. He knows he's going to get picked every week. So I don't think he's deliberately relaxed. He's not deliberately switching off and going, well, I've got my record now. I know I'm playing every week. Yeah. I'm not going to bother. It's not that at all. It's more subconsciously, he's not being challenged. He's got no reason to really try and force his way into David Moyes' plans, because he has to be in David Moyes'
is his
plans.
David Moyes,
Yeah. So I think it's just subconsciously that's his mentality at the moment. And it's, I mean, against Leicester, he just sort of jogged around the pitch, didn't really look that bothered. And it's probably an element of tiredness as well, because I don't think he's played so many games in a row for the club since he arrived because of his injury record. So yeah, it's a strange one, and he's been flying over to Jamaica to play international games recently.
Yeah,
which
that
doesn't
can't help. Yeah,
so
definitely.
He's tired, and
he scored some brilliant goals for Jamaica. Yeah.
He's so yeah, I think it's just he's tired and just doesn't need to try hard to get into David Moyes' good books at the moment. So
because he doesn't seem like the type of player to down tools.
No.
But I know what you mean. That's the same reason someone like an Alex Ferguson used to at least buy one or two players in each position in Man United, because he didn't want them players to get comfortable. They wanted to know that you're going to need to kick on. So yeah, I think you might have a point there, James. Definitely. So this game, the business end of this podcast, I'm just going to put you on the spot straight away. What do you think? What do you think the prediction's going to be? What do you think the prediction's going to be? What's your prediction?
I mean, we've already established that I think that there will be goals. I mean, Newcastle are a completely different kettle of fish to the one we faced in the opening day of the season. So much has happened, hasn't it? So
yeah.
And even without Trippier, I'm worried about this game at the weekend. If I'm honest, I think it'd be 2-2.
You took the words out of my mouth. I not to sound like the worst Martin Luther King impersonator ever, but I had a dream last night that we drew 2-2. That we scored in the last minute and it got ruled out for VAR. Maybe that's because of the weekend.
Yeah.
I did. Like, I just think there is, like you've just said, your defense isn't great at the moment. We've got Chris Wood. You've said that he does well against West Ham, but we've also got Alan Saint-Maximin. Our midfield's doing much better, and we have got a goal in us. However, with Trippier missing, he did marshal that back four. Dan Burns done brilliantly in his first game. I'm sure he'll do good against West Ham, but I think we'll have Emil Kraft playing right back, and bless him, he will try, but I think I think he's there to be got at. And I think, does Bowen play predominantly on the left hand side for you guys?
No, mostly on the right, but you can play both.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets switched at some point. I mean, whoever's on the right could have on the left side could have a good game against Kraft, but if he's not getting any joy, I'm not looking forward to seeing Jared Bowen if he is up against Emil Kraft at right back. So that might be where you get some joy. You've mentioned set pieces. We've been okay-ish at set pieces, not great, not too bad in terms of defending. Would you say that's still a string in your bow still this season with the likes of Souček?
I mean, Souček hasn't been the threat that he was last year. He is a worry amongst West Ham fans. He's not the same player. Again, I'm putting it down to tiredness. He's one of those players who's played almost every game.
Yeah. And you've got a massive like first season to live up to there, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah,
it was unbelievable.
He was so good, and because no one had heard of him before he'd arrived, he caught everyone off guard a little bit. I think even he caught the opposition off guard. But I mean, he still performs well alongside Declan Rice in midfield, but he's not the aerial threat from set pieces that he was. But as we saw last weekend, Craig Dawson's the one to watch out for. He just throws himself at anything in the box, and even if it comes off his shoulder, probably go in. So we are still a threat, but we're not, because the Souček's kind of dwindling a little bit. We're not as dangerous from set pieces as we were last year. I think we scored more goals than anyone else from set pieces last season. Yeah. But it's still quite high this year, but not as good as it was last year.
Well, we'll have to see. Like I say, 2-2. If it comes off, I'll certainly be messaging you, because I just think there's goals to be had there. We're in form. You guys are having a great season. We'll see what happens. Watch, it'll end up being 0-0 now. But
I think just on that, like, you guys being on form, like a month ago, I would have been licking my lips at this game. I'd have been going, brilliant, And then suddenly you do some really good business in January. Put a run of results together. Our confidence is high, and where we are getting results, but our performances have been poor. Now I'm like, this is the worst time to play Newcastle. Literally the worst time to play Newcastle for me.
That's an interesting point, actually, because I was going to ask you what your sort of, from an outsider perspective, not having any sort of investment in Newcastle, what your sort of view of this run of form was. And really, if you were a betting man, would you see Newcastle staying up this season?
Yeah. I think it was all going to be down to what business was done in January. I think you end up breaking a record for the most money spent in the January transfer window. Is it 92 million or something like that?
Yeah. I know we spent the most in, was it Europe or something stupid like
something
that?
like that. Yeah. You look at it and go, well, barring, is it Gomez in midfield, who was like the...
Yeah.
He was like the
talisman. He was the marquee signing.
He was the marquee signing. All the rest were just experienced Premier League players.
Yeah.
They weren't glamorous signings, but they were experienced Premier League players that will get you out of a hole. Trippier for me was a superb bit of business.
Yeah, and that's one bit that I guess, as a West Ham fan, you have to sort of take some solace in the fact that Trippier, because I can't put into words how much of an effect he's had on the team from right back position. Not just the fact he scored 2 free kicks in 2 games, but the fact that he's just constantly marshalling that defence. There's a reason why after Lascelles was injured, Trippier's 4th game, he's got the armband. There's a reason behind that, and we could see it. 52,000 of us could see it from
it's experience, isn't it? It's experience. Yeah. You need something, particularly when you're down there, you need players like that to come in and just kind of almost give people a bit of a kick and just go, I've been there, seen it, and done it. This is how you do it.
Yeah,
and he's showing that not just in his performances, but in his leadership already. He's played 4 games, and already you see the changes. So that's why I think Newcastle will be absolutely fine. I don't see any scenario where Newcastle go down now. Absolutely.
Right, well, if we go down, I'm blaming you. So
yeah, I won't be invited back.
One funny thing I did see before we go is, have you guys got any injuries? I don't think you have. You've got a pretty much clean bill of health apart from, I think it was Ogbonna, was it?
Yeah, Ogbonna's out for the season. And we've got fringe players are out. I think Masuaku's still injured, got an Achilles problem. But other than that, we have a fully fit squad, I believe.
Yeah. I had a little Google just to see if there's any little talking points, and I don't know what website it was. It was like West Ham United News or something. And it said, training pictures are massive blow for West Ham and huge boost for Newcastle. And I thought, it was Jared Bowen out. It's what's going on. And then I went on the article and it showed you a picture of Alan St. Maximin training today. And they said, he hobbled around for most of the second half, and we were hoping that he would be out for this game. And I just thought, mate, you've not watched a Newcastle game all season, because that lad, when he doesn't have the ball and things aren't going his way, he will hobble about everywhere. And then as soon as the ball comes near him, he's alive and well and looking tremendous. So I just thought it was quite funny that they thought, there's a chance Alan St. Maximin's going to be out. And he's in training today. But I'll teach you fans something there. Don't read it. If you see him hobbling second half, he's not going, well, I've jinxed it now, haven't I? He will be hobbling. He'll go off with a hamstring or something.
I'm pretty sure. Didn't he come off in the first game of the season? I think he got injured in the first game and came off.
I'm not too sure. I can't remember that.
I'm
not too sure. I mean, he is again, people might think I'm having a go at him there. He is one of the most dynamic players I've seen playing a black and white shirt in terms of what he can do with the ball at his feet, but he can be very frustrating in terms of what he does in the final third, whether it be brilliant or terrible. But then it's his reaction to losing the ball. He sometimes just says it's because he's being kicked, and he's a bit of a soft touch. But we love him nonetheless, and hopefully we'll have a good effect against your leaky defence on Saturday, mate. But we can't, we can't predict the future. But we'll both stick next to our guns with the 2-2 predictions. But I just want to thank you for coming on, James. It's been an absolute pleasure yet again. Hopefully it won't be the last time we see you.
No, it's a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to my hat-trick appearance at some point.
Yeah. I'll have to get your ball sent in the post.
Please do, yeah. That'd be great.
Right, for everyone watching the video, thank you very much. Please like the video, share the video, comment, do all that good stuff. And we'll see you again on the GallowgateShots YouTube channel.